postmodern position more seriously and recognize it as a fertile fallacy, fully equal in its influence to the Enlightenment, and currently perhaps even more influential. But I still regard the postmodern fallacy as more of a fallacy and less fertile than the Enlightenment fallacy. By giving precedence to the manipulative function, it ignores the hard core of objective reality that cannot be manipulated. This is more of a defect, in my eyes, than the Enlightenment's neglect of the manipulative function. According to the Enlightenment, reason and reality are separate and independent of each other. The only way people can turn reality to their advantage is by understanding the laws that determine the course of events. Under these conditions, it could be taken for granted that discovering those laws had to come first. This led to the development of natural science, which is the greatest achievement of the human intellect. It's only in the human affairs, that the fallacy crept in. By contrast, the postmodern worldview is thoroughly misleading. It has spawned an amoral, pragmatic approach in politics. It can be summed up as follows. Now that we have discovered that reality can be manipulated, why should the cognitive function be given precedence? Why not engage directly in manipulation? Why not pursue power rather than truth? Now, there is an answer to that point of view that I find decisive. While reality can be manipulated, the outcome is bound to diverge from the manipulator's intentions. The divergence needs to be kept to a minimum, and that can be done only through a better understanding of reality. It's this line of argument that led me to introduce introduce a commitment to the pursuit of truth as an explicit requirement for open society. This abstract argument can be reinforced by a concrete example. Look at the Bush presidency. It was remarkably successful in manipulating reality. By declaring war on terror, it managed to line up the nation behind the president and pave the way to the invasion of Iraq. The invasion was meant to establish the supremacy of the United States in the world, but it achieved the exact opposite. America lost power and influence precipitously, and George W. Bush is widely considered the worst president of the United States ever had. This example ought to be convincing. Yet, now that the concept of reflexivity is gaining recognition, the danger is that it will be misinterpreted in favor of the postmodern fallacy. Reflexive reality is just too difficult to understand, and people are easily misled by simple answers. It takes a lifetime to understand the argument that a valid prediction doesn't necessarily prove that the theory on which it was based is also true, while a paid political announcement takes only 30 seconds. It's tempting to adapt the postmodern view of the world, but it's very dangerous to disregard the existence of an objective reality. One way to bring home the objective reality is to draw attention to death as a fact of life. The mind finds it difficult to accept the idea of ceasing to exist, and all kinds of narratives and myths have sprung up around the idea of life after death. I have been struck by an Aztec ritual where teams compete in a ball game and the winners are sacrificed to the gods. That's an extreme example of the power of such myths. Yet the fact remains that the winning team died. Even so, I have to admit that the absence of life after death can't be proven to those who believe in it. My insistence on the importance of the objective aspect of reality is a matter of personal belief. Indeed, it has a curious resemblance to a religious belief. The objective aspect of reality, as I have constructed it, has many of the attributes of God as conceived in monotheistic religions. It's omnipresent and all-powerful, yet the ways of its working remain somewhat mysterious.